Hey there, welcome to Contracts and Chaos. My name's Alyssa.
And I'm Brenna, and we're here to tell you that you are not alone in the mayhem of this real estate industry.
We're keeping it real and sharing our stories, strategies, and successes in today's real estate world.
So come join us every Tuesday while we talk contracts and chaos. But we have to go back a little bit and explain to people what we're talking about, though, because we are hot in the middle of this.
Yes, so y'all, if you're listening, we're just going to jump into this topic because what normally happens on a Tuesday when we record is Brenna and I jump on here, and for 10 to 15 minutes, we shoot the shit about what's going on, a quick brief of what we're going to talk about today and like what's happening in our world. And so as we were going over what was supposed to be today's topic, which will be next week's topic now, we were going to go dive into 5 Mile Famous because we know we mentioned it in a previous episode and we really wanted to bring that to you. Well, we were talking about how we are both ending up with listings that are outside of our 5 Mile Famous for different reasons. And the reason it really comes down to, and I'm not going to put around this, it's shitty agents. So Brenna, if you feel comfortable, why don't you talk about why these people reached out to you? You don't have to give specifics, but
sure,
an idea, and then I'll go into mine. And then as we were talking about this, it's like we really need to talk about or have an episode of what agents need to do in this market and why we are seeing what we're about to talk about. Like, why is this happening?
Yeah, because this has happened to me twice now in the last month, which it's never happened to me before. So I'm like, oh gosh. And there is that like fine line, and we just talked about when people reach out to you, if there's an agency agreement in place, you're not prospecting them, you're not trying to get them to switch firms, you're not trying to steal a client. You can of course give them contractual advice or tell them to get out of their contract, like anything like that, of course. Anyways, this will be the second time that a seller is firing or has fired their listing agent and are looking for somebody else. And in this moment, it was actually a referral from a past client. And we've talked about this, Alyssa and I both, like in the beginning, we drove all over North Carolina for me and both North and South Carolina for Alyssa when we got licensed. And one of those past clients is a little bit outside. And when I say a little bit outside of my area, it's a bit. It's a bit outside where I work now.
It's a bit.
It's a bit. But he called and he's like, listen, like I told him before that he needed to hire you, and now I'm 1,000% sure he needs to hire you because I know that what you did for us, I told him XYZ, blah, 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 that you're the person, like on and on and on. And I love that. I really do. And that's why I'm not going to be like, actually, I'm going to send you to this other agent that maybe might do it the way that I did, but might not, like if you're giving that high of a recommendation to somebody about me, yes, okay, I will show up for them like I showed up for you. But what's happening is, I will tell you that, and the seller said this a million times yesterday, was that, and just in different words, a lack of communication. It was a miscommunication. There was no communication. There was no information. There's no communication. And right now, sellers are learning that the market is balancing out, right? We're not seeing a lot of properties go under contract in the first couple of days, few weeks. Some of them are sitting a few months, But in that same breath, like you can't just set that client up, do your first marketing push in that first week. We're doing open houses, we've got flyers, we've done this, and this, and then for the next 11 weeks, you're like, oh, no showings, no showings. Or if a massive event happens in your client's life and they're like, we gotta put pause on this, we've got to block some showings, we need some time. And you as an agent, like whether it's a commission based, like you need it for your own family, there's no right reason for you to be like, well, do you want to sell your house or not?
Right.
Because I can't work in these conditions. Especially if those conditions involve like a very special moment in these clients' lives.
Yes. Like we're talking
broadly,
5.5 pounds of fresh moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was just like, I was upset for them,
Yeah.
Heck,
Oh,
First of all,
I
I wouldn't be trying to sell my house pregnant or with a new baby. Like, I just wouldn't.
I
I
mean,
was a
well,
dumpster
but
fire when
sometimes
I was pregnant.
sometimes life doesn't give you that, like, you have to. Life the
It's a lot. As an industry, I think that it's important for us to pay attention to these things moving forward, though, because this is where, and we've talked about this before, this is the market where these strong agents are made, right? Because the
Yes.
ones that are grasping desperately and holding these clients hostage and not doing the job that they were hired to do, those are the ones that are going to fall off, and they're going to find somebody else, right? That's the long and the short of it. Whether they terminate early or they just let it expire and then find somebody else, like, you don't want to be that agent that, like, oh, reach back out and be like, we need to re-up our buyer agency agreement. They're like, actually, I just signed with a new agent and we're loving them.
Right.
You know, that's a bad feeling. I mean, I don't feel like anybody would want to feel that way. So why set ourselves up for that situation?
And I mean,
you know,
let's be
and
honest,
you
sometimes
have
that
fun
happens,
working right now.
right? And sometimes that happens no matter how good you are. Sometimes there is
Yes.
something that happens in their life, or that is sorry, there's a scratch on my screen. I thought it was on my shirt. Or that you don't know is happening behind the scenes because they're not communicating. So it's not always a bad agent. But today we are talking about, like, you have to have the skills in this market. This is not 2020. We are not sticking a sign in the yard. We are not sending them to open houses or going to open houses with them where there's 400 people and we're writing the offer in the parking lot or the driveway to get it submitted. This market takes work. It takes skills, not just to market and get new business, but to keep that business and handle it well. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's about endurance. It's about being prepared to market and present that listing for 8, 10, 12 weeks if necessary, you know. Same with buyers. Like, we're not finding the house for a buyer in the first 3 outings sometimes. Now
Right.
it's, you know, we're looking for 2 months. But you have to know that up front, and whether it's a budgeting thing, right? Like, pay attention to, like, I personally, like, I don't think that I'll ever be like, oh, I think I have enough money, I can just, like, relax. Like, if I know that I
I'm
think
just
it's
not
like
that
they
person. I always
2
want,
months.
and it's not that I want more
Right.
money. I just want more. I just always want to be working to get better.
Well, I'm just anxious about bills. So, you know, I'm
I mean,
just
I am
like,
too, but I'll just move home with mom.
I
Hi, mom.
hypothetically, right, if hypothetically I was to get in a terrible car accident, do I have enough money to pay my bills for 6 months while I recover from a brain injury? That's where I go.
Right. I get that.
It's
Yeah,
a
because
lot, but that's where I go. So,
we don't have disability in this
no,
industry. So
paid time off. No. No, but let's you think we can just, like, pull out of our hats, like, 3 things that I think are super
yes,
important, they're going to set people up for success
yes, I think
in keeping those clients.
absolutely.
We're
So
winging this.
I
Y'all.
have
This is
right. I have one listing now that technically wasn't expired, but she let it expire because she didn't like the agent. And so my thing is, you have to give guidance to your clients. This one sat on the market for a while. She did get an offer, but it didn't work out. But that agent didn't give her any guidance. Didn't tell her to declutter, to freshen paint, to fix anything. He came in, he took okay photos, stuck a sign in the yard, did one open house, and walked away. I worked with her for a month, if not longer, before I got a sign in the yard to say, okay, I would recommend you, at a minimum, deep clean, and we need to get rid of 50% of your furniture. Because it's a beautiful townhouse, but it's not large. And she had that, you know, those new, they look like oversized corduroy couches. Not my style. They're cute, not my style. If I had like a TV room or an extra living room, but not my main style. And it took up the whole living room between the couch and the ottoman. And I said, okay, we're going to get rid of the one part of it, and we're going to get rid of the ottoman, put it in the garage, put it in storage. I want you to take this giant piece of furniture out. We're going to turn this table because you have it shoved up against a wall, so it looks like it doesn't fit. But if we turn it lengthwise, it fits perfectly. Get rid of the stools to show that there's room here. Like, I need you to fix these 3 things. Do you have it in your budget to paint? And if you really want me to push for top dollar, you need to do the floors on the first floor. And she was going, he had it listed, I think they started at $289, somewhere around there. When I met with her, she was so discouraged. And mind you, first listing was so stressful because he was so awful. She ended up in the hospital. This woman ended up hospitalized because of stress. So she was, Brenna, you think you're a nervous little bee? I had to pull out all my psychological skills on this one. And I was like, so I like showed her all the listings, like brought my laptop, was like, look at the difference. These townhouses are the same size as yours. They haven't updated appliances either or cabinets. It does look like they've done their floors, but look at the difference. And they sold for $300,000. I can get you that if you'll give me a chance. If you have it in you to do what I'm asking you to do. And we did everything except the floors because she was like, that's just a lot of money. And she did replace some appliances, even though I told her not. I said the floors would have gone further than the appliances, but she did. I'm proud of her.
Appliances
because
are easier than floors in people's minds.
That too.
You know what I mean? Just like Lowe's is going to come swap them out. I don't have to worry about it.
Right. And that's what it came down to. And she was like, honestly, what if I pick a floor they don't like? She's like, appliances people can live with if they don't love them. And I was like, okay, true. So we listed so when I met her, remember, she had originally listed almost 300, right? She only wanted 250. She's like, just give me 250. It'll pay off what I owe. I want out of here. And I was like, no.
Oh, jeez.
We're not doing a fire sale here. Trust me. And I told her, I said, give me 2 weeks at 285. Give me 2 weeks. And and if not, then we'll back it down. Because we met in the middle. I wanted 289. She wanted 280. I said, let's meet in the middle, 285. I was under contract in 4 days. We are slightly under asking price. But she finally said during negotiation, because they came in really low, she said during negotiations, I won't take less than this. And I literally hooted. I was like, what? And because it was significantly higher than that 250. What she
said originally.
And I was like, Katrina, where did that come from? I'm so proud of you right now. And she was like, you convinced me. Like, you showed me my house is worth something. You showed me it had worth. I had worth if I put the work in. She's like, and you've proven it.
Yep.
She was like, you are a mate. And I was like, so that's one of my 3. You have to give guidance. This is not the market where you take shitty pictures, you stick a sign in the yard, and 400 people show up the next day for an open house. Absolutely not. Yep. Now, my last 3 listings in the last 3 weeks have all gone quickly, but it's because I got skills. So that would be my number 1. You have to be able to give guidance. I got skills. But you have to be able to give guidance and coach your clients, especially for a listing, to have them prepped and ready. Because buyers, they're not being picky, but I mean, they are, but it's just not that market. There's not the crazy interest rates that are making people buy whatever because they can and get a super low interest rate and then change whatever they want. We're not in that market anymore.
Yeah. No, not anymore. I have one very similar to that. Same thing. I went in and I was like, if you want, like, I have to make it look like a totally different listing now. Like, we're sitting, you had 100 days on the market and now we're hitting the market again. Like, there's not that much that we're doing here, but they did staging. They went in and fixed like 3 big things that I was like, this is terrible. Like, people are walking in and this is the first thing that they're seeing kind of situation. And, they put some money into it right up front, and I was like, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. And we were under contract in 21 days out of
nice.
And the average is 118 out there.
That's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, so you're still
terrible, and we ended up with multiple offers that weekend, so it was like it worked out. But yeah, you have to be able to say it. Spit it out. The whole like, oh yeah, no, just sign the listing agreement because I need the business. It's not doing you or them any favors, right? You can tactfully say, hey, your China doll collection sitting above the sofa, it's not going to photograph well.
Right.
Let's box up Pollyanna and set her in George for a little while.
Right. Yes.
And that goes along with my point, which is communication. Okay. I feel like if we just told sellers or buyers even what we're seeing, what we're thinking, what all of that, it would eliminate 85% of the problems that agents are coming up against and why they're losing clients, because they're not getting updates. Sometimes the update is that there is no update, right? Sometimes my weekly emails are like, hey, we didn't add any new buyer matches in the MLS this week. We didn't. There were no showings between 325 and 375 in our town this week. Sometimes that is the update. But if there's just crickets and they're not hearing from you and they're like, heck, like that house sold and that house sold. She didn't say anything about that new house down the street that just hit the market and they're $20,000 lower than we are and they have an in-ground pool. Like if you're giving them the information, sometimes like I don't even hear back from my listing updates, right? Like I can see that they open them, but
right.
They have the update. They know what's going on. And sometimes that's all you have to do because it's just a reassurance thing. Because otherwise, if they haven't heard from you in 18 days and you call and like you have a 12-hour heads up needed because you have work, you have kids, you have dogs, like you can't just let somebody into your house and they're like, hey, somebody wants to be there in 20 minutes. What is that setting as precedent?
Right.
You only call when you need something.
Right.
That's not great.
Right. Or you only call when you have bad news.
And we're not. Yeah. And like I said, sometimes the communication is that, listen, I don't have any news for you. And sometimes you have to say the hard thing. Like we were correctly priced 5 weeks ago when we hit the market, and every single one of our comparables has dropped $20,000 to $30,000. So now we look overpriced.
Yep. Overpriced and on the market.
Happening.
So people are wondering what's wrong.
What is wrong?
Yes.
I think that, and it doesn't have to be a long, lengthy email. I do email updates once a week. I'll shoot a text message and say, hey, nothing, no news. Or good news. We have a showing scheduled. I spoke to the agent. They seem excited. Something.
Right.
Say hello.
Even if it's,
Send
hey
them
guys.
a box of cookies from Crumble and say, hey, this sucks. Enjoy the cookies.
Right.
Just something to make it that you're in it with them, because you are. This is your business. This is your investment. You should be working these listings and not just waiting until you see a showing time update that somebody scheduled a showing, right? We should be actively putting some effort in. So when there is no update, there's no showing, there's no feedback, but this is what I did this week.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so along the lines of communication, this is my second one. Don't talk about shit you don't know about. I called on a listing yesterday for a client just to, like, it had been under contract, came back up. So before I schedule showing, I always call, like, what happened? What's going on? Where are you guys with things? And he was like, I'm going to be blunt with you. He's like, it was a shitty buyer's agent. And I was like, oh, hope it's not someone I know. Awkward. And I said, oh, okay. What does that mean? He said, well, buyer was pre-approved. Buyer was ready to go. But the agent quoted her a rate from Yahoo Finance. The agent did not have her go over details with the lender. So she started, the rate she got, she thought was going to change, and it didn't. And the lender, like, she started lender shopping to try to knock the rate down and couldn't. Do not give advice you are not qualified to give. Like, I have a client right now who is in the middle of the divorce. He's buying a property. I sent him a message that said, is the divorce finalized? Because he's a friend and I wasn't sure. I'm not going to pry. But now that we're buying real estate, I got to know. Yo, Scott, is your divorce finalized? Because if not, here's what we need to do. But it was more of a, here's what I think we need to do. But as soon as you get that introduction email from your attorney, I need you to respond and ask them these questions so that they know and we can get whatever it is in order to make sure she has no claim to this. But I did not give legal advice. I would never give legal advice. And I'm a paralegal originally. Like, that was what I went to college for. No. So don't give financial advice. Don't give legal advice. It literally says in the North Carolina agency agreement that, yes, I have a fiduciary duty to, but there's a paragraph that's about a third of a page long That says these are topics that you need to go find the specialist in. Accounting, law, finance, all the things. Not my job. I can't. I won't. So don't give advice on things you aren't educated on. If you are not also a licensed mortgage broker, do not quote them what their rate's going to be unless you're the one pulling their pre-approval, because you don't know. And Yahoo Finance, you might as well just ask Siri. I asked Siri if it was going to rain yesterday. She said no. Well, guess what? About 12 o'clock last night, which I guess technically would have been today, major thunderstorms rolled through and woke me up. Come on now, y'all.
Oh my gosh, there are ways around this that if you have connections, if you have a go-to title company, if you have a go-to lender, you have questions, great. Let me group chat you. Here, this is so-and-so. This is my client. She has a question, X, Y, Z. And I told her I'd connect her with somebody whose department that was. This isn't an opportunity for you to be like, oh, that's my job, right?
No, like
be
I
a
had
resource, but don't go just making problems for yourself either.
Right. Like she's a return customer who every year or so is like, hey, do you think I can buy a house? I'm like, talk to the lender. And so she finally actually did, or talked to one for a second time, and a new one who was like, okay, like, because it's just going to be her now. And she was like, we really need to work on your credit. And she's working with her because she's qualified. I'm not. I would be like, I don't know, because let me tell you, I've ruined mine a couple times and rebuilt mine a couple times. I honestly can't tell you how I did it. I didn't have any special strategy. I just paid my shit on time and stopped using credit cards. So, but if you need to build it faster, you probably need to talk to a specialist. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
I hate when that happens.
Okay, this will be the last one. And I think we can both agree on this one, because listen, you can lead a horse to water and you can't make it drink. You guys are either going to do the work and be the people that you need to be, or your business is going to find another place to work with. That's the problem. So I think that the ultimate test to this, the ultimate thing that really, if all else fails, you need to remember that they're humans. Like, be a good human.
Yes.
That's such an important thing. Remember that. I mean, maybe you don't remember what it was like when you bought a house, or you've never sold a house personally, right? Like, there is a lot of emotion. There is a lot of pieces, especially if it's not a vacant house, if it's not something that's like easy peasy. There's a lot of moving parts, and being a human and being like, oh yeah, no, I understand that kids are coming home off the bus at 3:15 and like a 3:30 showing is not going to work because the kids are going to be home. We have to understand that this is not just a transaction, that these are lives that we should be helping to change for the better, not
Absolutely.
causing them to be hospitalized with stress issues, right? We should not be causing that. We should be a place that they can say, hey, we're having this issue, XYZ, I'm going to need showings blocked on Friday. And it'd be like, okay, done.
Yep.
What do you need from me? Do you need a box of cookies? Like, how can I help? Because they've hired you to help them do something.
Yes.
Just be a good human.
And I'm going to say
and do
something,
best.
Right? I'm going to say something that I think is initially going to sound a little contradictory to that.
Okay.
But it's along the same lines, because if you do this, then we'll be able to do what you just said. You have to learn to say no. You have to learn to, if when you go to that listing appointment, they're not realistic about price or condition or certain things, say no. Because tying yourself up in a listing that's going to take all of your energy, all of your resources, and not go anywhere or take forever to, is not worth your time. If you have buyers who aren't willing to get a pre-approval, or they think they can buy a $400,000 house with a $1,200 monthly payment, say no. Protect yourself, because if you protect yourself, it will be easier to be a good human.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because if you're guarding yourself, your time, your abilities, it's only going to allow you to show up better for those people that are the people that you want to work with.
Exactly. Yep. All right. On that note, guys, take these skills. If you don't feel like you have them and this wasn't in-depth enough, find them. See if your agency has some training. If they don't, talk to us. Maybe it's time to switch firms to where you have better training. Maybe it's time to hire a coach. But this market, it's not a crazy market. This is a normalized market. You have to have skills. So work on them.
And we love you. See you next week.
Yes, we love you. See you.
We just finished another episode of Contracts and Chaos, but believe me, the chaos does not stop here. So check out the show notes for our email address and where to follow us on socials, and we will see you next week.